Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
And we're back. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you once again for always tuning in. You guys are fantastic. And thank you for all the support in sharing these episodes with people that are struggling, people that need help, or they just need to feel inspired. I'm getting feedback from so many people on how good that has been for them. So thank you for doing that. Continue to do so. And, you know, I'm just so blessed that I get to bring in some amazing people who get vulnerable and share their, you know, at times horrific stories and what they're doing to get through it and overcome it. And it's just inspiring to me. And I'm the spoiled one because I get to sit here face to face. And today is no different. We're joined with Yvonne Rodgers. I said it correct, right?
Yes, you did.
Yes, Yvonne. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. You guys are going to be, this story is going to just hit you in your heart like no other. But before we get there, I want to thank our sponsors, Wasatch Recovery, Siegfried Jensen, Thread Wallets, Mountain West Spine and Orthopedics, Living Recovery Interventions, and Veracity Networks. Guys, thank you so much for sponsoring this and allowing this to grow because of what you guys do and believe in me. So thank you for doing that. And to get started here, just a little background. Yvonne is a domestic violence advocate because she has gone through domestic violence herself, and her story is a tough one to listen to, honestly. She has dealt with addiction and meth and heroin, and you've been 8 years clean and sober now. Is that correct?
My son has.
Or your son has, excuse me.
My son has.
I missed that part.
My son.
You had a son that's gone through addiction. You've been married to someone who is struggling with addiction. I mean, the list goes on. There's so much here to say. So I think what we're going to do is let's start off, Yvonne, by just tell us a little bit about where you grew up and a little bit about your childhood, just to get to know you a little bit, and then we'll get into your story.
I grew up in Hooper. I'm the oldest of 6, came from a very staunch LDS family. So we had a lot of rules growing up LDS. My parents, very kind, loving, hardworking, taught us very hard work ethics. Mm-hmm. And me being the oldest, I was the caretaker. And so that carried over into my marriages, that I felt I had to be the caretaker and pleaser. Okay. And I think that carried over into my marriages. And then I'm the mother of 3 children. I have 1 daughter and 2 sons, and then I have 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson.
Isn't that the best?
They're my world.
Yeah.
I call them the rewards for not killing my children.
Right. I have 2 grandchildren myself, and it really is. It's the greatest thing ever. It really, truly is.
They make my world.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
They're pretty wonderful. And my kids are all doing great now. And I have 3 wonderful, I have 2 daughter-in-laws and 1 daughter, what do you call it? What do you call it? My daughter's husband, he's wonderful too.
Yeah, so. Son-in-law?
Son-in-law,
there
thank
we go.
you.
Yes. Yeah. I always get that stuff mixed up too.
Yes, and he's awesome. So they're all happily married and doing very well.
That's got to feel good as a mom, right?
Yes.
Right.
And it's taken a while for them to get there, but they're all doing well.
Yeah.
My son, like I said, he went through meth addiction.
Yeah, that's tough.
And I didn't think he was going to make it, but he did. And he tells his story all the time. Yeah. And I thought I was going to lose him, but
boy, I bet
he made it through, and he is doing great. And he's been clean and sober now for 8 years.
Wow. Well, congrats to your son. I know he's going to listen to this, so props to you. And that really is amazing, because a lot of times we hear the opposite of that.
Yes, he did lose a couple of friends.
Sure.
And that was very hard for him.
Yeah.
And part of it, he doesn't remember when I talked to him about things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did get permission to share his story, and he said absolutely. And
That's good.
so it's very hard as a mother to know that I could have lost him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a scary thing. And, but again, I'm really happy where he's at. And I'm sure with him sharing his story, it's helping a lot of people as well.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful thing about sharing your story. And that's really why you're here today, right? Is you have this passion right now to share your story. It's hard to listen to because of what you went through, mental abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse.
Yes.
And the list goes on. But, let's just talk about that. I mean, obviously you weren't seeking for these things, but you got married, and just kind of take it from there and tell us what happened. And then, we'll talk about why you're so passionate about helping others through this.
Well, I had known him my whole life. And for me, an addict, I thought, an alcoholic, I thought someone that drank hard liquor.
Yeah.
And he never drank hard liquor. He just had beer.
Yeah.
So I thought, that's not an alcoholic. And I didn't grow up drinking,
Yeah, right.
I grew up very, very naive, I guess.
Sure.
And I never drank. And I still to this day, I'll have a drink once in a while, but I don't like to drink to get drunk. And I never have. I've never liked the taste of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
And he never went without having a beer in his hand. And I realized slowly over time that he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And he would drink and drink and drink. And he could not have fun if he didn't have a drink in his hand. And so then coming around my family, they accepted him, the drinking, and he was very nice, very friendly, treated me wonderful. But then slowly over time, behind closed doors, the pushing and shoving started happening.
Mm.
And it started slowly, but never in front of people. He treated me like a queen. And we had a lot in common.
So people would have been surprised.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, really? We don't see any of that, right? Okay.
Absolutely. And I never told anybody.
Mm.
I never told anybody.
Yeah.
And it just continued to get worse. And then his mother we had a mother-in-law apartment, and his mother lived there. And things started happening with her, and she became afraid of him, and so she moved out. And he called her the C word.
Okay.
And he called me that. And so I thought, he has no respect for women.
Yeah.
And it just continued worse and worse. And then the physical started, and it became worse and worse. And then it came down to where I didn't know who I was going to come home to, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting anxiety. I couldn't sleep at night. I was losing weight. I mean, he would say the most hurtful things to me. And I remember one day I asked him, why would you say the things that you do to me?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it's because I know it hurts you.
Wow.
And so I remember I wasn't going to let him hurt me emotionally after that. It's like I put my emotions in a box and locked them away.
Okay.
And because I had cared up to then what he thought of me. He was my best friend. I would come home every day and we would talk after work.
Yeah.
And there was this female in the relationship that he would text all the time. And I always heard her name, and I always heard her name, and I always heard her name. And I finally said, why don't you just go marry her? And he's like, well, what, are you jealous of her? And I said, yeah, I am, because you're talking about things with her that you should be discussing with me.
Right.
And it ended up later that he's with her now. So he was probably with her. So
there was stuff going on.
Yes. Yeah. And so there was that insecurity, and he would always flip things on me. And that's what narcissistic personalities do. I can't say that he's diagnosed as that, but he definitely has the traits of that.
Right.
And I remember him asking me, do you not trust me? And he would always put it back on me. And finally one day I said, are you trustworthy? And he didn't know what to say to that. And I didn't realize how much he would turn things around on me. Oh, you ruined my day. You made it so I couldn't do this. You know, it was always about me instead of what he had done. He would flip it. And I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that, and I didn't realize that. And then the night that this happened, Friday I'd gone, because we worked both out on base, and I'd got up, we always got off early on Friday, and I went over to his work to say hello to him.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what a wife does.
Yeah.
And he was fine until we got home, and then he just got mad at me for no reason. How dare you show up early at my work unannounced? I'm like, do you have something to hide?
Yeah, yeah.
And we had a
Man.
Rottweiler, and she had to go to the the vet about
Mhm.
4:30. So I let him take her. And I went to my mom and dad's and thought maybe that'll give him time to cool off. Well, when I
Yeah.
got home later, I asked him how she was, and he goes, well, if you wanted to know, you should have gone, or you can call the vet. Didn't simmer him off at all. And I remember I went to walk up to him, and he said he'd come close to me, and he got out of his chair and got up and closed fist and come at me and said, I will hit you. And I knew he meant it. So
Yeah.
I just didn't speak to him the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Went upstairs, went to bed, and the next morning we woke up, and he just started in on me. So he went out in the garage, the man cave. We had a 6-car separate garage.
Mm-hmm.
Got up, did my usual cleaning, and he came in and just started on me. How dare you, how dare you, how dare you? And I just ignored him because I couldn't even walk away from the argument anymore. He would
Right.
follow me. He'd follow me.
Yeah.
And so I remember just getting everything done, the laundry, the house cleaning, and then I went grocery shopping, come back, started fixing dinner, and then I took my dog for a walk. And I don't go to church, but I'm very spiritual.
Spiritual person. Yeah.
And I see things,
Yeah.
and I always have.
Yeah.
And when I was walking my dog, I had a premonition, and I saw myself laying on the ground with him over me bloody. And so when I got home, I put dinner away because he wasn't going to come in and eat, because sometimes he'd come in and throw it away. He'd throw it in the sink. He'd throw it in the garbage. So I put it away so he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then he came in a little bit later, and he started in on me again. I told him I wanted a divorce. I had decided I
Yeah.
couldn't take
Couldn't
it
do
anymore.
it anymore.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And so I remember him getting up off the couch, and I thought he was going to go upstairs. Well, he come charging at me and shoved me with both hands like a football linebacker
Jeez.
in my chest and sent me flying, and it broke my arm. I fell on it, and it was an obvious fracture.
Oh.
And I was sitting there on the floor cradling my arm, and I don't even know where my phone was, but somehow it was next to me. And I'm laying there cradling my arm, screaming, and he would never acknowledge that he broke my arm. And he was calling me the C word and the B word and telling me that my arm wasn't broken, and he would give me something to cry about. And he went upstairs. He goes, I'll show you something to cry about. And he went upstairs, and he come back down, and I heard the ratcheting of a shotgun.
Oh my gosh.
And as he come around, he had that shotgun, and he pointed it at me. And I blanked that out for a long time. And see, I didn't tell that to the police because I was so worried about him. Like most victims, they
Yeah.
protect their abusers.
They do. Yeah.
I did not want him to lose his job because he worked up on Hill, just like I did. He had a security clearance.
Yeah.
Then he sat down next to me and put the gun under his chin and said, all I have to do is pull the trigger and one bullet, and I can blow my head off and I'm done. And I told him I didn't care. I said, go ahead and do it. And I don't think he expected me
To say that.
to say that. And so then he sat there, and then I said, I don't want you to kill,
Yeah.
Then he got up, and then I got my phone, which I don't remember how it was there. And I called my son. My son didn't answer. Then I called my dad, and I told my dad I needed him. And then I think I called 911. And then he said, oh, if we weren't going to get divorced before, we're getting divorced now. I said, well, what did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Because I said, do you think I was going to lie for you when I went to the hospital? Because they were certainly going to ask what happened.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I ended up, when I read through the report, my dad came, and I expected, the police and that to come in. Well, they didn't because of the gun. So my dad come in.
Okay.
And I guess I was refusing to go out. I don't remember any of that. I do remember I was worried about them shooting my dog because she was a Rottweiler.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I remember that. And then they took me to the hospital, and I had to wait 2 weeks to have surgery. I had to have 9 screws and a plate put in.
Jeez.
And it's permanently disabled my wrist, that I do not have full capability of it. I have CRPS, which I'm in constant pain. It's like in boiling hot water.
Yeah. Yeah, they call that, I've heard it called the suicide disease.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is the most horrible, and there's no cure for it.
I had a lady on my podcast, Amberly Lago, and she was in a motorcycle accident, and she got the same thing in her leg, and she deals with it every day, and she talked about that. That's how I got to know more about that. So for you to be dealing that with your wrist.
And then I had a drunk driver rear end me. And so it moved it all the way up to my shoulder. So my shoulder's frozen in place, and then it made my wrist even worse.
Wow.
So
right now, so for our listeners, she has it, in a brace, and then her arm's in a sling as well. And
it's all because he decided to put his hand on me.
Yeah.
So I fight with those emotions every day because I was able to work, and now because of what he did, I'm not able to work. So that's been something that I fight with every day because I've never not worked my whole life.
Yeah, right.
So now it's taken me a long time to forgive him. I don't hate him. It just makes me angry that he goes on like nothing's happened. He did plea bargain, which he should have been charged with a felony. He broke the protective order 4 times before he was sentenced, and they only charged him with 2 misdemeanors.
Wow.
And
and he only served about 30 days, right?
He was charged with 2 misdemeanors. He should have been charged with a felony because he permanently disabled me, and he used a gun, and she didn't. Wow. And he already had a previous domestic violence conviction, and she totally ignored it. And so the police officer went back in the house with my dad and found the loaded shotgun, and it was fully loaded with all 5 shells in it.
Really? And
1 in the chamber. So the police officer was surprised and gave the gun to my dad because he wanted my ex wanted my dad to have the gun because he knew if the police took it, he would never get it back. So he had 17 guns. So when we got divorced, in the divorce decree, it stated that he was given the weapons, but I didn't know the laws about a restricted person being convicted of domestic violence and having a protective order on him. And then the prosecutor did not tell me about a criminal protective order. Another lady did. The only time you can put a criminal protective order on is at the time of sentencing when they're convicted of domestic violence. Oh. So thank heavens a friend stepped in and told me about that. So I have a criminal protective order on him. That's a lifetime protective order.
Wow. I knew nothing about that either.
And on protective orders, there is a little box that the judge has to check that states if they can have weapons or not. Otherwise, if that box is not checked, law enforcement will not enforce them not having a weapon, even though the state law and federal law says they can't have weapons. Is that not oxymoron? It's a little loophole.
Yeah.
And then it states what other weapons they can or can't have. And if the judge does not fill in what other weapons, then they will not enforce that either, even though the state law goes in very detailed of what they can and cannot have. Wow. Because he then went out while he was on probation, put bows and arrows for sale, while it specifically states he can't. So because my order did not state that, the prosecutor would not prosecute him. Even though he's a restricted person for domestic violence, and it states that they would not prosecute him.
Oh my gosh.
So my mission is to get the protective order changed so that that box is automatically checked, and it states, please refer to the state laws to what any and all other weapons are.
Right.
That is one thing. So my criminal protective order did not have the box checked and did not say that. So he just tried last year, and it took all year long to get the civil protective order dismissed. He lost. And I found the reasoning was exactly that. He could have his weapons because my criminal protective order does not have that checked.
Wow.
So before this, he then took me to contempt of court because he had threatened me about the guns. He wanted the guns because I had possession of the guns. I removed them from the safe in our home.
Yeah.
He took me to court to get possession of 17 guns, and I'd finally turned them into sheriff's department. He took me for contempt of court. He was awarded custody of all 17 of those guns, and I was ordered to pay attorney fees. I am the victim of him.
But now you're being victimized again, it sounds like.
And so I had a friend that was an attorney general, and I contacted her. She said that is an illegal order. She said I needed a new attorney.
Yeah.
And so I tried through legal aid to find somebody that would help me, because I had 14 days to respond to that order. Because I had a very nice attorney, very nice man. He just did not understand domestic violence, to help me write an order. And he goes, well, at least you weren't held in contempt. I said I was.
Yeah.
And he meant, well, at least you weren't put in jail. And I'm like, he got his guns back.
Yeah. To you, that had nothing to do with it. It was about him getting guns.
And I was just, I was having nightmares, you know. At first, I was ordered to go get the guns, and then I had a panic attack, and the judge saw that there's no way I could have gone and got the guns, so she ordered his attorney to get them. So the attorney general gave me the U.S. attorney's phone number and said to call him, and the U.S. attorney got me in touch with an ATF agent. The ATF agent said he cannot have control, he cannot have possession, he cannot say where those guns go. He has to act like those guns do not exist. And he cannot transfer ownership. And we even argued transfer. Doesn't mean transfer like transporting, but transfer ownership. Of those guns. Right. And so I found a new attorney. I wrote my own objection to her ruling. I went to the law library and I filed it, and the commissioner actually tried hearing her own ruling.
Really?
And I said, that's not how it works. It goes commissioner, judge, Utah Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court. That's how you'd go. And so the attorney that I still had at the time, I contacted him because I hadn't quite found a new attorney yet. And he goes, oh, I'm sure you're not looking at it right. I said, I'm pretty sure I am, because I'm pretty well educated.
Yeah, at this point, you know a lot.
At this point, I got really educated in the law.
Yeah.
And so I brought him what I wrote, and he's looked at it, and he goes, wow, where did you find all this? I said, the law library. And
oh, man.
He looked at it, and he looked up, and he goes, she is trying to hear her own objection. So my lawyer rewrote a little bit in lawyer language.
Right.
Submitted it, and all of a sudden it was going to be heard in front of the judge. I said, oh, isn't that amazing when there's a lawyer behind it, what she's not trying to do now?
Exactly.
So then we had a hearing via WebEx, because there was still in the safe at the house, because I hadn't removed him, Bowie knives, and he's not allowed to have Bowie knives. And there were bullets in the safe, because I hadn't taken those because it said I couldn't. They were his property.
Yeah.
But I could not give him the code to the safe yet, because he had threatened me he had coerced me into trying to get the little box checked on the protective order when we got divorced, of getting that gun box checked. He knew. I didn't.
Yeah.
And so the judge had totally said no. Just because I had to follow the court order does not mean that the judge did not have to follow. So he denied.
Oh, wow.
So I did not have to give the code to the safe.
Okay.
So he tried holding me in contempt of court, that I didn't do everything I could to get that box checked. Well, I can't control what a judge does.
Right.
So I didn't have to give him the code to the safe. So in this hearing, he wanted the code to the safe. So I was doing the talking because I still had my nice gentleman lawyer, and they were wanting the code to the safe. And I said, I believe that would take a modification of the divorce decree. And the commissioner was like, well, I'm going to hold you in contempt. I said, I'd like you to try, because now I got some backbone. Because
at this point,
I'm like, I don't care. This is wrong. That you can't do this. And I said, there are Bowie knives in there, and I had taken pictures of what was left in the safe, and there are firearms. And I said, that is constructive possession, which he cannot have, and there is not a black and white on this, Your Honor. Oh, well, do you have pictures? I said, I sure do. And so his lawyer is saying, why isn't your lawyer talking? And my lawyer at the time said, I believe she's doing a very good job.
She's just doing great, so let her keep going.
So
wow, that's amazing.
We were at a standstill, and so then in the meantime, I got a new lawyer, and my new lawyer actually looked at my divorce decree and said it was an illegal order, because if I had given him the guns, I would have been giving guns to a restricted person, and I could have been charged for giving guns to a restricted person.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
What a confusing thing. I mean, all of it. Like,
so I have so educated myself. And number one, I believe that when domestic violence occurs with a weapon, we are one of the states that does not go in and remove firearms. Utah needs to be a state that goes in and removes firearms.
Right.
No, if a firearm is used, they need to remove the firearms.
For sure.
And they're gone.
Yeah.
And number two, that box needs to be gone. It just needs to be an automatic that they cannot have.
Exactly.
Yes.
No box to check or not. Just
right.
It's automatic.
And it needs to be. And number three, prosecutors need to have accountability for what they don't charge, because that prosecutor did not listen to me. She did not charge him correctly. And then she told me, she intimidated me. She said, oh, do you want to go testify? Do you want to testify? I have the ultimate say in what I plea bargain and what I charge him with. And I said, I will be more than willing to testify. I said, he broke my arm. I have 9 plates and a pin. Yeah. I will be more than willing. How does he justify what he did to me?
Yeah.
And he tried saying, because I know him, he tried saying it was only one time. Well, it wasn't. There was another time that he had hit me so hard it had ruptured my eardrum, and I had a big bruise on my cheek. And the next day, he's like, you have dirt on your cheek. And I said, no, it's a bruise from you. He goes, oh, well, you must have done something that you deserved it.
Man.
So it was always my fault.
Yeah. I've heard it said before, and you probably know this better than I do, that the abuser always blames the victim.
Absolutely. To this day, he still does. Because when he filed last year, as soon as he could, to get the civil protective order dismissed, he filed it. He represented himself. He stated that he was the victim in all of this. Those are the words that came out of his mouth. And that's what makes him the most scariest of abusers. He has stalked me. He has broken the protective order, and they will not enforce my protective orders. I was told I can enforce my own protective order.
Yeah.
How can I enforce my own protective order? I can't put him in jail.
Right.
I can hold him in contempt of court, but what does that do?
Right. Man.
I have a criminal protective order. The judicial system puts protective orders in place for a reason. They need to be enforced.
Yes. Wow.
So I just took him to court on my criminal protective order to get the gun box checked and to have it state, refer to the state law as to what any and all other weapons are, and it was granted. In that one, he represented himself also. He showed up and said, mind you, it's attached to his conviction for domestic violence, so the judge could see it, knows what it's there for. He stated, I don't even know why we're here, Your Honor. This is a waste of time. This order is going to go away in 3 years. And then he read some code which referred to the civil protective order, and he had an attitude. The judge said, that's not the order that I issued. Another judge ordered that, and I believe you're referring to the civil protective order. This one is a criminal protective order, and this is a lifetime one. Then he stated, well, I'm not even here in Utah, so I'm not even around. Well, I'm friends with people of his on Facebook. I saw that he was at Little Sahara the weekend before, and he was with his son who has the guns, and we would always use the guns when we'd go in the razors. So I told my lawyer, I said, he was with his son, I'm concerned he's around the guns. So my lawyer looked him up. He got some type of alcohol citation. So he's back doing exactly the same type of behavior. So my lawyer said, well, he was just here this past weekend and he's doing the same type of behavior. So the judge ordered that my motion be granted and that it refer to the state laws to what any and all other weapons are.
Yeah.
And my ex then made a remark, oh, so if I'm out mowing my lawn, does that make my lawnmower a deadly weapon? That is his take on this whole thing. He does not take it serious.
No accountability.
None. And he never will.
Yeah.
And he, to this day, still stalks me, calls some of my friends, asks about me, knows everything that I'm doing. He has tried getting 3 stalking injunctions on me every time he was on probation, and he would do something. I would call his probation officer, and she would tell him. And there was nothing, nobody would do anything about it.
Man.
And so I'm trying to get the laws changed that victims have rights, because right now it's criminals seem to have more rights than victims.
Yeah.
And that is not right.
Yeah. Well, I know you're an advocate now and you're trying to make changes. Obviously, you're very passionate about it, and I see why you are. And I'm glad that you are trying to do this. I know there's certain things that you want legislation to change and to change around domestic violence particularly. Can you maybe kind of review some of those things that you want to see? You already mentioned a couple, but how would you like to see this change overall?
The first change is I want a task force that is set up by the legislator, that they meet 6 times a year, and they hold prosecutors accountable. They have to show every domestic violence case that has come forward to them.
Yeah.
And they have to show accountability of when they dismiss it and why, what they charge and why.
Yeah.
And when they plea bargain and why. And there has to be accountability. And I want standards raised on the charges. Because right now in Utah, to have a felony charge, they either have to have a gun or they have to permanently disable. That is the only time they get a felony charge. Or if they have a previous domestic violence conviction within 5 years, then it's enhanced by 1 degree. So it's not even necessarily then a felony. It could be a second degree misdemeanor, then it's up to a 1st degree. We need to take this seriously. It needs to be. We have a no tolerance for drugs. Why do we have a Why do we not have a no tolerance for domestic violence? Seems like when we put the word domestic in front of it, it's not taken seriously.
Yeah, it's almost Wow. You know, I was in some of my little bit of research, and you would know this better than I do, but what I found is 1 in 3 Utah women will experience some domestic violence in her lifetime, and 40% of adult homicides in Utah are domestic violence related.
Correct.
I mean, that is a lot. 1 in 3.
Yes.
That is just basically common.
Yes.
Happens
and
all the
1
time.
in 4 men.
And you know this better than I do, but I was kind of shocked by that statistic.
Yes.
That it was that frequent and that many people deal with it.
Yes.
So obviously it's a serious problem. I mean, you know, you're now disabled because of it and the things that you're trying to get accomplished. You're climbing this uphill battle, it feels like, right? You're climbing like this Mount Everest of people telling you, well, hey, I'll get back with you. We've talked about this before we got on.
Right, the UDVC, and I'm going to say it here. They told me they would get back to me, and that was clear back in January. I have heard nothing back. I've emailed, nothing.
Yeah, no one wants to step up.
No one wants to step up. No one wants to get the facts out there. All they want to do is stick you in a shelter. How does a shelter fix you getting help and stopping domestic violence? All it does is give power to the abuser. We need to be able to keep women and children in their home, in their environment, instead of uprooting them.
Right.
We need to put the perpetrator maybe in a shelter where they don't get to have all their belongings and they're locked away behind a gate in a prison cell, and take this seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, maybe teach the women a career that they can provide for themselves, and the children aren't living in poverty, and, you know, get financial aid for them instead of putting them in homeless shelters where homeless shelters, they're getting raped and abused there also.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that really bothers me, and I've had discussions with this, is if a woman goes back to her abuser, which a woman will usually go back to her abuser. I'm the rare case. I didn't go back. And the reason I didn't, because I almost did, because I did not know what to do, is the police officer came back the next day and had to have the report signed, and he talked to me because I said, I don't know what to do. And he said, if this is the first time you have called and this is what he did to you, because he said, I know it didn't just start off with him breaking your arm.
Right.
He said, there's been tons and tons of incidences.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, there was. I just never called. He said, if you let him back, he will kill you. And those words were so profound to me. I can't thank that police officer enough.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. I never talked to him again. I went the next day, which was because this happened Saturday. Officer came Sunday. I went Monday and got a protective order on him and never talked to him again.
Wow.
It takes women between 5 to 7 times to leave their abuser.
Man.
But see, DCFS, if a woman goes back to her abuser and abuse happens again, then they charge the victim with failure to protect their children. So again, they're victimized by the system. Jeez. Why are they not charging the abuser with abuse?
Right.
So that's why women go back and stay and don't report. DCFS needs to look at, why aren't we getting the abuser out of the home? Why aren't we charging the abuser? So then the women lose their children.
Yeah.
So there needs to be, this whole system needs to be revamped.
Yeah.
Because you cannot be held responsible for someone else's actions.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what the system seems to do.
Yeah.
You know, and the first therapist that I went to, he looked at me and he said, why would someone well-educated and as beautiful as you let someone do this to you? Like it was my fault.
Man. So really, again, the whole thing seems broken.
It does.
You know, because comments like that and
victim blaming
and, you know, people telling you, yeah, I'll get back with you. And then, no, you know, then crickets after that.
And you already blame yourself enough. You already feel guilty. You already feel like you're not enough, you know, and they tear you down. They tear you down. They tear you down. They make you feel like you're nothing. And then they wonder why the suicide rate among victims is so high.
Yeah.
And then I did counseling for a year at Safe Harbor, and there was this video which was so profound of said, why don't you leave. And it was because you fell in love with a person that wasn't real, and they'll give you glimpses of that person, and so you want that person to come back.
Yeah.
And it's because you loved that person you fell in love with.
Yeah, and there's always that hope that it's going to change and everything will be okay, and wow.
And they'll give you just enough glimpse and hope, but that person never comes back.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I love that you are trying to make a change. I can't imagine how frustrated you feel because of everyone putting you off and not really following through for you. But I'm sure women listening to this right now who have been through what you've been through are grateful that there is someone like yourself that's at least trying.
Yes.
And going forward and trying to make changes and this and that. And because again, if what you do, Yvonne, that, if that helps someone down the road, not have to go through what you did, I would imagine you would think that would be worth it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there were times I didn't want to live, and if it hadn't been for my therapist, I'm writing a book about what I've gone through and about how I've, more about the judicial system and how I felt, and, how to work on yourself and just the whole scenario.
Yeah.
And hopefully other women can relate to it.
Yeah.
Because it's a process. You have your good days, you have your bad days. It's a roller
imagine.
coaster.
Yeah.
And even now today, he still isn't leaving me alone, and it's 4 years. I still live in fear, but I'm going to go down fighting. I always tell my children, if I end up getting killed, they know who it is. But I'm going to go down fighting. I'm not going to live in a corner afraid anymore like I did for 2 years.
Man. Well, just what you said, that's hard to even listen to. Meaning, if I was to die, you guys probably know what happened. But for you to go, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to keep fighting and make changes, and that's really inspiring to me, honestly. I'm almost out of words. I don't know. There's so much suffering in this world, unfortunately, and in all areas of life, and this is one of them, obviously, for you. But again, it always just blows my mind that you're sitting here even talking to me at the end of the day, like you're willing to actually come on here, get vulnerable, and share with what you've been through.
It's taken a while.
Yeah.
It's taken a while. I mean, I had people turn on me like it was my fault, They even said I fell and broke my own arm. And I thought, what are they saying? And then he actually wrote it in an affidavit that I fell and broke my own arm. And that was just like being punched in the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
The trust I had in him, that it took away me being able to believe that I loved someone that I thought loved me back could just be so cruel and turn on me, and that everything I thought about him and what he had told me about himself, finding out was a lot of lies.
Yeah.
And so it's been really hard for me to retrust. And so I'm learning to pay a lot closer to my intuitions.
Yeah.
And not words, but actions.
Actions, exactly.
Because people can say words. He would always say he was sorry, but then he would turn around and do the same thing over and over and over again.
The clients I work with who have gone through similar things you've gone through, I always like to say, believe the red flags, not the apologies.
Exactly.
Because again,
apologies mean nothing.
Apology means nothing, but the apology is a way to manipulate, to tug on your heartstrings a little bit.
Yep.
Give me another shot, or help me out here, and it won't happen again. That kind of stuff. But,
yes.
And I think, like you said, when someone's going through it, it's like you fell in love with the idea of who this person you thought was.
Yes.
And you keep thinking, the apology kind of like makes you feel like, okay, maybe that's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's okay. Maybe we are we're beyond this bad stuff. Now it's going to be good from here on out. And then,
Right.
and then it happens again, and then again, and again.
And I read this book by Lundy Bancroft, and it's
Mhm.
called Why Do They Do That? And that book was so profound because it described, I mean, that could have been a book about me.
Yeah.
And he was a therapist that
Mm-hmm.
did therapy with people that were in jail, so that was court ordered, obviously.
Yeah.
And he studied them for 20 years, and then he even talked to the victims. And he said you cannot change an abuser. They do not change. Like less than 5% will actually change.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I mean, because I still have feelings for him,
Yeah.
because we did have good times together,
Yeah. Sure.
but that bad outweighs the good so much
Yeah.
more.
Wow.
But I've found a good man now, and he treats me wonderful. So
Yeah, good for you. Congrats
Yeah.
on that. I'm
Yeah.
happy to hear that. Well, so what do you, I mean, obviously you're an advocate now for domestic violence. You're trying to make changes. But like, what do you do just for your own self-care now? I know you're passionate about that and you got purpose in that because of what you went through, but what do you do on a daily basis to kind of, for your own self-care, to kind of, take care of your own mental and emotional and spiritual side of things?
right now I'm writing the book, so that's been helping me
Okay.
to get out my emotions.
Yeah.
The therapy I did for a year, I didn't realize I had crashed and burned because I had stuffed it all and not really dealt with it. Because when
yeah.
I was working, because I was still able to work a little bit
Yeah.
until the car accident, and then it totally made it. And so I had just stuffed. And, I never hated him. And so I never went through that emotion of hate.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's carrying the baggage for me, not
Yeah.
him. And I feel sorry for him. I pray for him that someday he can deal with what he's done and that he can better himself and not do this to another woman.
Yeah. Right.
And that he can get the help for whatever he's needing to drink that
Right.
much for.
For sure. Yeah.
And I spend a lot of time with my grandkids.
That's good therapy. For sure.
I have my 4-year-old that calls me, Grandma Bon Bon, can you come see me? And I'm like, sure, when? She goes, right now.
I love it.
And then I have a 7-year-old that I pick him up on Wednesdays and Thursdays and spend time with him. And then my 12-year-old, she's kind of independent. So
Yeah. Okay.
So I do a lot of that.
Gotcha.
And, yeah.
Wow. Well, it really is amazing that you're here and, and for your passion and desire to make changes. And hopefully, like even just you sharing on this Belief Cast today, when it gets out to all of our listeners, that maybe it touches the right ears that can maybe help you in this cause. And I, if you are listening to this and you can maybe help her out in what she's trying to do.
Yes,
please,
I would appreciate
please
any
reach out
help.
to her.
And
Yeah.
then my book will be coming out within the next couple of months. So
Do you have a title yet? Can you
it's
share that
called
with us?
And with a Broken Wing.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and my cover's getting drawn by one of my best friends who's a well-known artist. She does a lot of artwork for the Underground Railroad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So she's a fantastic artist.
Yeah,
and
that's
my
very
book's
cool.
in editing right now. So yes, and if anyone needs help, I'm here day and night to help anyone.
So
I've
how would
helped.
they reach out to you if they
My
wanted to get a hold
email
of you?
address is my first name, which is Yvonne. It's Yvonne, and then it's R as in Roger, Z as in zebra, R as in Roger @gmail.com. Like I said, I'm
Okay.
here to help anyone. I do know the laws. I'm not a lawyer, but like my new lawyer says, I'm very adept in the law. He said I
Yeah.
should have been a
You should
lawyer.
have been one, yeah.
If I was younger, I'd go back to law school.
Well, I'll put that in the show notes too so people can link to it. So we'll make sure that they have that when we go live officially with this. But yeah, I would encourage anyone who may be going through the same thing or has questions because they know someone that's going through it, to reach out to you.
Yes, and don't keep it to yourself. I kept it to myself until it exploded and got really bad. Get a safety plan in place. Start stocking money aside if you can, so that you're not financially dependent on them. And, try to not be the one that leaves the house. Make them leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of little things that people don't think about as they're going through this, but this is where you could be a very good help for all of that. You've already shared some amazing advice, but I want to ask you one kind of final question. If there's someone listening to your voice right now who is in that dark place, and they feel stuck, or whatever it is, what's the one thing that you could maybe tell them right now that may be helpful for them?
You're not alone. I was in that dark place, and I almost took my life. And then, if you're not religious or not, I am, but I prayed, and there was angels around me, and that is what saved me. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that. So just ask God or the angels or whatever religious entity you believe in, and they will help you.
Yeah.
And they can make the situation better for you in a way that you might even not know. Just ask for it to be helped, and not ask for a specific, because only God or the entity knows how to fix it.
Yeah.
And it will. They can help you through it.
Love that. Beautiful advice. Very well said. Thank you. Well, Yvonne, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today and being on the show. That means a lot to me that you'd come on here and be vulnerable. That's really what the audience that I have is looking for. Is they're struggling with some things, and this is one that I've had a few people on before you that have been through similar, and it's always been very well received, and just like we needed to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and congrats on doing a book. I think that's amazing. I think that leaves a legacy. When 100 years from now, when you and I are both not here, your book lives on, your story lives on, and it's going to help someone 100 years from now even.
Right,
and that
because
kind
it's
of blows
not
my
to
mind.
focus on the negative, but the positive that comes from it.
Exactly. So I'm glad you're doing that, and I think that's great. And like I said, we'll have your email on the show notes so people could reach out to you and ask you questions and that kind of thing. But I don't know, my heart is just I'm sorry you've gone through all of that, but at the same time, I'm glad that you are now an advocate in trying to make changes here. So if this can help in any way, I'll consider this a success.
Me too.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, folks. It's hard to put into words what I'm feeling right now, but again, I'm just grateful for people who are willing to, share with what they've been through. It really does show that the human spirit is so strong. Despite when you're going through it, you may not feel that way, but man, it's just amazing. Like people like Yvonne and what she's doing. So just, if you are struggling, just know you're not alone. Like she said, I'm here for you. She's here for you. Anything that we can do to help you. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in week after week. Thanks to my sponsors for believing in me. That means a lot as well. And I love you guys, and until next time, thanks again.